Hello everybody, thank y'all for tuning in to another AOP Tech Talk, where we talk about tech at AOP. That's an intro right there.
Yeah, it is. That's a good intro.
Yeah,
all right, there you go. I was like, you don't need this. You got it.
Yep. So today we're talking about a huge topic for 2020, the end of life, what it means, going away from Windows 7, which was one great operating system, I have to say.
It was around for a very long time.
Yeah.
Stood the test of time.
Yeah.
It's better than Windows 8.1.
It was solid.
Yeah.
And the end of life for people's servers, server 2008 and R2, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So what exactly is end of life? Or you see EOL, what does that mean for people?
I guess that's Microsoft announcing to the world that they're no longer going to release security updates for it, so it's basically time to upgrade and get off of it.
So what's that mean for people that they aren't going to be releasing security updates anymore?
Yeah, basically means for business and home users that, if you're not getting updates, basically the bad guys have more chances of getting in. So all those updates that you guys are seeing, when it's like installing one of 47, you won't get those anymore. So it's going to kind of leave you in a tricky place.
That's a good to put. One of 47.
Yeah.
Because every time you reboot, it's updated.
Yeah, you never know.
So that means any vulnerabilities that are exposed within the OS itself are just going to remain vulnerable?
Yeah, and that's really the scary thing. So, a lot of times antivirus companies and Microsoft is kind of out there protecting you, but, going forward after January 2020, we're not going to have that anymore.
Can I just put McAfee on my server and just have it?
That would be nice, right?
I don't know if I would do that.
Yeah.
So home people this isn't just business. This is anybody with a copy of 7. So Windows 7 Home, Windows 7 Business.
It's pretty much, anything Windows 7, you get home, ultimate, business, so.
Gotcha. And now for people's servers, they need to do the same with the Windows. Wouldn't that seem like a big task to take on to upgrade a server's operating system?
Yeah, can we do just in-place upgrades for my Windows 2008 server? Can we bring it up to spec?
Yeah, it's tricky, and I think that's a good one you probably want to run by your IT department. But sometimes you can get away with that in-place upgrade. Maybe you got a small office, you're on 2008 R2, you want to jump to 2016, but it's usually best practice to kind of start fresh, and that way it also gives you guys a chance to go through whatever security policies you have in place. Mm-hmm. You can maybe have some users that haven't logged in so many years, so it really gives you a chance to get secure with Microsoft, but also look at your overall network security.
Yeah, I didn't think about it, because if you have a server with 2008 on it, it's probably an older server now.
Yep.
Yeah. So it gives you another chance too to look at, maybe what hardware is that running? Is that thing 10 years old? So you could even be in the boat where you're upgrading that OS, but the hardware on top of it.
Because I know some people have SQL servers in place and things like that, things that they don't want to move, or they've been scared to move off to a new OS,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think if it's done properly, there's not too much to fear.
Yeah, there shouldn't be. And a lot of times too, SQL's probably running some application that you guys are all running. So, 9 out of 10 times you're going to have some vendor that supports it. So, always check in with them, see what they recommend, and, you can plan based off that.
It's just a little bit scary,
Definitely scary. Yeah, big changes. So nobody wants disruption.
So what would you do, Anthony, if you were to go upgrade a server? Say you have an old 2008 server. Mm-hmm. What would be the path that you would take? Would you just put a new server in place, or would you?
Yeah, I guess a lot of planning would be involved. I guess if I'm the IT guy, I'm going to take a look at the hardware like we discussed. But the main concern here is what we want to get off 2008 to something supported. So going to look at what's running on it. If you guys have an application, we have some files. We want to plan and communicate to users. If there's going to be any downtime, what to expect. If Jeremiah's got some special app on his computer, is that going to be impacted? So first we'll probably make a little skeleton outline of what needs to be done, and then drop a plan on tackling each of those items.
Nice. See, when you say it like that, it makes it sound fairly simple.
Oh yeah,
you
you got to keep it easy for the end users.
In, out, 30-minute job.
Yeah, then when you're up to 2 a.m. sweating through the upgrade, at least they don't have to see that. So.
Yeah, that's all behind the scenes where you're
for
just sweating and you're like, oh, I hope this goes smoothly.
Oh yeah, goals always make it easy for the end user. So
you've got your plan in place. You know the steps to take. What's next?
Yeah, I guess next you got to really figure out, is it going to take the whole office down for 2 to 3 hours? Then, maybe I'll communicate that to my CEO and say, hey, I need an opportunity to do this. So whether that's a night or a weekend, just find a time and then ultimately just execute and make it happen.
So plan, communicate, and prepare?
Yeah, definitely want to ensure, you have backups, but I think, any good IT person is going to ensure that every step of the way. So you want to have
a solid backups.
definitely a fail-back plan. I mean, things, if you plan them out, usually go okay, but there's always that, what if. So just want to make sure you got your...
I always like to have a rollback plan just in case,
for sure.
Now, during that process, the worst case, like if something does happen because they are computers, you still have your server, like your normal servers just sitting there.
Yeah.
If someone goes to new hardware, new operating system, worst case scenario, something doesn't come over right, you just stay on your old server, right?
Yeah, definitely. And that's why I guess, I like to do things in phases. So it's not like I'm just going to move all your files, your domain controller, your DNS, like all in one fell swoop. Because then if, users have an issue in the morning, you're troubleshooting, 9 things. Whereas if we take more methodical approach, say, hey, Brandon, we're going to move your files tonight. You come in the morning, all is good. Then, we'll work on the other 9 out of 10 things on our checklist.
Yeah. So if it's done properly and planned right, it's a pretty smooth
Yeah, it's
process.
a smooth.
Yeah, absolutely. And, usually just when you kind of get to move in the user files or if there's some application, that's typically where you'll see a little bit of impact. But even, depending on the case, you can even automate that to the point where the user has no idea anything even changed.
Yeah.
That's always a good feeling, too, when the user has no idea you've done anything.
Yeah, for sure.
It's background magic.
Pat yourself on the back. That's
It's always fun moving a domain controller, making one primary,
Yeah.
and then noticing 100 people just logged into this guy and not this guy anymore. And that's
it's
kinda
like, all right, cool. We didn't blow up the world, so
it works.
nice. I don't need to find a new career path.
Yeah.
I actually had Anthony help me out with that recently, where we put in a new domain controller, and it was smooth. And I was nervous. I was sweating a little bit, not gonna lie. And it was way easier than I thought it would be.
Yep. Yeah, I definitely don't think people should be it's not as intimidating as it sounds.
It's not, yeah. I guess it's like anything,
Yeah.
Riding a bike. Once you get it, it's like you always got it. I mean, maybe little things change here and there, but
Yeah. Now, I know as many as we've done, you've come up with some cool ways to make it more efficient.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe we talk about
a bit easier too.
Yeah, maybe we talk about like the desktop side. So that's the server, and I think most end users aren't really going to notice that. It's really going to be, hey Jeremiah, my computer is running Windows 7 that I'm on every day. Like, what would that look like to me if I need to upgrade or replace it?
So we figured out a way to automate it through our remote media management software. We've scripted it out and made the Windows 10 process very, very easy. It took a little bit of work to get the script working, and now all we have to do, a click of a button, pushes it out same day.
So you're telling me when I log in the next day, do I still have all my desktop icons or my files there?
Yes, they are all still there. Your pinned items might not be there, and sometimes people panic a little bit because they're like, my icons are missing from my taskbar.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, well, that's easy. You right click, you just put it there.
All right.
The one major complaint that we've been getting is Internet Explorer is replaced with Edge, which Edge does not have your bookmarks imported into it. They're still sitting there in Internet Explorer.
Because they're getting rid of Internet Explorer.
Yeah.
Or they've already
It's being
Microsoft's trying
phased
to-
out, for Chromium, I believe.
Yeah. No, Chromium. What is the name of the new one?
I think it's Chromium. Yeah, or it's like Edge and kind of Chromium together. So I guess
Yeah.
they made some hybrid child, which is
Yeah,
very, very new.
Curtis is using. He says.
Yeah,
he
Curtis
loves
says he
Yeah.
loves it.
Yeah.
I haven't tried it out because I'm a little skeptical because of the Internet Explorer experience in the past, also the Edge experience. So why would you, But I've heard it's great.
You think they're gonna
Yeah.
push it out for Mac?
I was gonna say I'm not sure if it'll get to the Mac.
Yeah, is
world,
it gonna
but,
get on your Mac?
Hey, who knows, right? It's like Chrome's got a piece of it, so it could.
Yeah.
But and the day IE is running on a Mac, I don't know.
Oh no, it'll crash.
Yeah.
Internet
You'll
Explorer.
have Mac
on your
IT people.
Yeah. Oh, that's the day Mac starts needing IT support.
So walk me through. You say you made it just sound like nonchalantly
Oh,
easy.
it was nonchalantly easy.
Yeah,
I mean,
so like, it's just
the
push a button.
scripting part was difficult, but now I can push it to as many users as I want, as many different sites as I want.
So user just Miss Susie calls up and says, "Hey, I want to go to 10."
I would prefer them not be there because they're going to be sitting at their computer while the computer upgrades. But I can do it same day. It wouldn't even be that big of a deal.
So
I
you-
usually set it at night.
Yeah,
while the users aren't there. And then when they come in the morning, it's ready to go.
that's perfect.
That's good, and definitely good end user experience too. So
Yeah,
I
they
mean, while
never
this
notice.
this stuff all sounds probably scary, like what does it mean, this end of life? Like, are we gonna get hacked, Brandon? But then we get someone like us in there, and it's wow, that was pretty
yeah.
easy,
We can make
and
the
we're
process
secure.
really
So
painless,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Especially,
interesting.
it doesn't matter how many users you have in your office. Like we could push them all at once. It might take a little bit of time because it's as fast. It goes as fast as their network is.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh
And
yeah, you still have the hardware element too.
Right.
So if you got a 7-year-old computer,
yeah,
take
I
a
guess so.
little
That's
bit.
probably something you want to factor in too, right? When I'm upgrading
Right.
my physical Windows 7 computer, similar to a server. So if it's 10 years old, I'm probably going to want to look into a replacement with Windows 10 versus just
Right.
the upgrade.
Especially if you have 2 gigs of RAM in there and you're using like a Pentium
Yeah.
processor from 7 years ago.
Yeah.
yeah,
You're gonna have a bad time.
that was one. I'm learning people they don't understand the refresh cycle,
Yeah.
and we go by 5 years.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like every 5 years, you don't have to. It's like, oh, it's 5 years, I need a new computer. But you should at least have the plan in place to say, okay,
Yeah,
I got another 6 months
absolutely.
of this one, but I should get one.
Right, and that's really confusing to me is how sometimes people think, this computer still works, it's still
Right.
doing what it's supposed to, but technology's improved so much in 5 years. Like, I've worked in IT for 5 years, and I've seen how much technology's grown.
Yeah.
Like, people who are still using like regular hard drives instead of solid state drives, like, just the jump in improvements that you see from just like small changes,
Yeah.
It's one of those things, like if you only notice a 1% change on a daily basis, after 100 days, it's not a big deal because you're used to those incrementals.
Yeah.
But then you go to a new computer, it's like, holy cow, this thing is crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this horse and buggy computer.
Yeah.
What's going on here?
So people has just gotten used to 4 gigs of RAM, like this. A
Like
7-year-old
that's just the
computer, it's
standard.
normal.
Yeah.
That's just how it runs.
Yeah.
And then
Like I had a user tell me the other day they had been using the same computer for 10 years, and I was like, I don't know if you should be proud of that.
yeah, we
feel
got a good
bad for
ROI
you.
on it, but I don't know.
Yeah. It seems normal to them, but it takes twice as long to get the same thing done as someone with a newer computer.
Yeah.
Right. When I see a printer cable port, that
Yeah,
serial
the
port
serial,
in the back,
yeah.
I'm like, you need a new computer. It's time.
Yeah, I think that's a good point though that you brought up, Brandon. I think and having probably a good IT company would do that good job kind of deciphering between your hardware has a life expectancy around 5 years, but also like your operating system, which we're talking about here. Windows 7, it's done, so it's time to move to Windows 10. So it's like this continuous hardware and software kind of balance.
Yep.
And I think since Windows 7 is becoming end of life, I think people are noticing their hardware being a little more out of date.
Yeah.
Especially when we do pushes, I'll notice like sometimes on older processors, the Windows updates will hang up. Because they're having trouble like processing through the PC itself, and then users get scared because it's stuck on the spinning circle,
Oh, yeah.
and it just spins forever, and
Is
then
it gonna come back
it
to
tells you
life?
not to turn it off, and then they're afraid to turn it off because it's kind of scary. But I'm like, no, all you need to do to fix it is just turn your PC
Yeah, and I
off.
think that brings up another good point too, maybe for the folks listening, they're not sure, maybe the PC's 4, approaching 5 years old, they don't have it in the budget to replace it. A lot of times the manufacturers say it's a Dell or an HP. You can actually go to their websites and see if that hardware can support Windows 10. So then you're not in this, situation like, oh, is it ever going to boot up or come back to life? So that's a little tip right there.
And you mentioned it, maybe you don't have it in the budget to buy 10 computers for your office or 50 computers. Things just like $100 solid state hard drive make the world of difference.
Oh, yeah.
Or just a few
absolutely.
more sticks of RAM.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes you can do those little things to help, buy you another extra year or two until it is in the budget. So.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, what solid states are $100 now? Those are cheap.
Oh, yeah.
And a memory kit's 40 maybe. So $140 and you got 6 months.
Yeah, right.
extra.
It's almost
Yeah.
like putting a
Yeah,
new
extra
engine in
year.
an old car, a little extra horsepower.
Yep. It's a brand new $1995 Datsun.
Hey.
That's it. Oh,
Yep.
oh nice.
So what's the biggest? Okay, I've got Windows 7, and it's end of life. They're not going to support it, but what's it mean? Okay, so I'm not getting no more security patches. Is that a big deal though?
Yeah, that's probably the biggest deal. Anytime I'm sure you've watched the news, cybersecurity threat, this and that. This company leaked however many credit cards. So depending on the industry you're in, so you have Windows 7, you got a bunch of personal info stored on it. You don't have updates. That means every time your PC goes to the internet, you don't have the necessary kind of updates to prevent sort of the bad guys from getting in, for layman's terms.
Yeah.
So that's kind of skipping all of this fancy firewall security stuff.
Yeah, it would be, because that computer itself is not patched. So, some little thing could get in there from something you might download, and they're, got a keylogger and they're watching everything you do.
Yeah.
And then,
You're vulnerable to crypto and things like that as well, just going out onto the internet.
For sure. And then to kind of like elaborate on it a bit too. So say you have 20 Windows 7 PCs, and depending if your server's 2008 or whatever network security you have, like that thing could spread amongst the network. So instead of just, affecting Brandon, it could be you and, 17 of your employees. So that's where it really gets scary.
So it's a balancing act. You have to have like good security on your firewall and router side, but also on the desktop.
It's kind of like you can't have one thing and not the other. It's like you would be that point of entry and sort of the weakest link. So.
Because I've heard that before. Oh, it's Windows XP, but it's not on the internet.
Yeah.
Don't quite work like that.
Yeah.
It's still on the network, though.
But then, that's interesting too, because it's, someone might ask the question like, hey, well, can I just upgrade these 3 and then I'll plan for, the next 14 of these computers, over the course of the year. But,
it's how much you want to risk.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, it's like you're gambling, playing a dangerous game.
And that's always been fascinating to me. People will pay $1,000 a month for insurance for their business.
Yeah.
But to spend $400 on an extra computer, security patch, or this or that,
Right,
it's like,
because sometimes, because IT doesn't generate money in the way that people think it does, Like, you can't see, you just see yourself spending money on IT, but you don't see any return from it, right?
Right.
But it returns itself in other ways. Like, your employees work faster, your data is more secure. All it takes is one time for someone to get in your network, completely destroy everything, or steal all your data, and then you realize, oh yeah, I should have been investing in IT all along.
Yeah.
It's sort of like doing a lot for you that you don't see, which is a good thing, because, say you get hacked, then your company makes the front page of the news, and it's like, oh, I don't want to do business with these guys anymore. Like, my data's out there. So, you think of it that way, and that's real life. So it's scary.
That is scary.
Yeah.
That's extremely
Think
scary.
about it that way.
I couldn't imagine walking in and all my stuff be gone.
Yeah.
Oh no, that'd be the worst feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you log in for the day and then
Like nothing.
everything.
And
Like,
the scary thing is too, a lot of these big corporations, they probably have the money to always stay on top of these upgrades. But I think it's really like your mom and pop or your smaller shops that would be targeted because, to the hackers, they're more susceptible. They probably have lower security. So.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. It's going to be important to keep up with it.
Yeah.
So, what else we got on here? So key points, definitely stay on top of the pushing to 10. I think what we got. It ended yesterday, right? The 20th. 2 days ago.
Yeah, 2 days ago.
2 days ago.
Oh, you can spend $25 per device to keep Windows supported.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, and then next year it's $50. And then the next year it's $100 per device.
Oh,
and who knows how long Microsoft will keep that up. But
that's per device. That gets her just upgrade to 10.
Yeah. At some point you bought a new computer or the license for Windows 10. So that's the Microsoft Extended Security Update Program. If anyone wants to look that up, but. Yeah, just a little license that you install, and it kind of extends only to get security updates for a year. So if Microsoft's releasing feature updates, you're not going to get those.
Huh. So it's only like buys you 10% of the time.
It does.
Yeah.
It's sort of like a Band-Aid, when you need like an operation or whatnot.
So that would be good on bigger networks. Like they got 300 computers to upgrade. I might need to extend half of them so I can get there. Or something.
Yeah, so that's a good use case right there to sort of buy you time. Like you're going to do it, but you just don't have the manpower. Or,
No, just do one big push. That's
with
what I'm gonna do.
automation.
That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna schedule it over a weekend.
Yeah, that automation.
or just
script
call
is
Jeremiah, get his script, and you'll be all set.
Awesome. Well, get to Windows 10, get to Server 2016, 2019. 2019, I'm liking it.
Yeah.
2019 is good. A lot of nice features. Check it out.
You'll be set for at least a decade.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. It's like, it might be a big project now, but you're doing, this type of thing maybe once every 8 to maybe 10 years. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, do the legwork now.
Yeah, Windows 10 is a 10-year OS.
Yeah.
So 2030, we're going to be upgrading these things.
Yeah, so think about that.
Yeah. Where do you want to be in 2030?
Yeah.
So, awesome. That's it.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Thanks everybody
that's-
for listening, and stay tuned for the next one, and keep learning Tech Talk.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was good.
All right. Fun times.